I want to talk about why it's wrong to make a person pay to live on planet Earth. Now, in this generation, this is not the kind of message that is able to be received. It's kind of like Jesus Christ said, the kingdom of God is like a sower who went out to sow seed. And as he cast the seed upon the earth, it fell upon thorny ground, it fell upon stones, it fell upon perhaps water. It fell in places where birds could actually come and take it away before it began to take root. It fell upon thorns that began to grow and strangle the seed, and it did not bring forth its yield. But then it settled and fell upon good soil prepared for it. And where it settled upon good soil, it brought forth 30, 40, 50 to 100-fold yield. These words that I'm about to say are like that. If they fall upon Beyonce knows stereotypical big boss, big diva, black woman mentality, it's going to be like thorns choking these words. If it falls upon a Caucasian person who thinks lowly of people who are not financially economic, it's going to be like falling on stone, deaf ears. If it falls in places where people are poor and suffering, they want to believe it and agree, but as soon as they turn their eyes and their ears away from this video, the birds will pick it up so it won't take root, and they're going to start doing whatever society says with their thoughts. So, in essence, there's very little good soil. I don't know who would receive this message, but because I want to listen to it later, I'm going to make this video. And what it is that we are not supposed to pay for flesh. We have two things that we buy. We buy our appearance, preservation, and we buy our feelings, protection. Every resource, every possession is for your flesh to be preserved if you're smart, and it's to protect your nervous system from electrocuting your soul. So, in essence, one might say that you're trying to rest to protect your feelings or your nerves, and you're trying to replenish your flesh so that it doesn't decompose or start to look embarrassing to your iris, which means right now, my skin is like this woman that I met some years ago. It happened to be my former legal partner's mother. She has really ugly skin. It's clear, but it's ugly. Ugly as in dingy, dehydrated, and dry, worn out. When I met her, I was a very potent canyon reddish brown. I had jet black shiny hair, straight white teeth, and I had tight eyes, and I was athletic built. And a lot of people around me wanted to turn me into that kind of person, but I didn't know. Even the guy that I was with, he despised me. I did not know this, okay? And everyone who saw me, they didn't think I was pretty. They just were angry about the amenities of me not having age, because I was in my early 20s when I met her. And she was zealous and anxious to get me to a point where I could look like her. Like she wanted to pull my hair out my head, mess up my skin, scar it, turn me into every ugly thing you could possibly imagine. Now, a lot of people have joined together to perform this deed, and I know it sounds crazy, but I have actually been turned into the one of the ugliest women on earth. And without my makeup and even with it on, I am extremely ugly. But that's not so bad, the ugliness, as in the features or the unattractiveness. What really angers me is the condition of the flesh. Whether you exercise or eat healthy, I've seen hard bodybuilders with ugly flesh. As a matter of fact, I met this lady about maybe 10 years ago at Starbucks. I was, being domestically abused, and so I would go to Starbucks and stay there all day and all night so I could stay away from the guy that was abusing me. And he still is performing such things, but it's lesser than it was then, and it's spontaneous and all of a sudden. But there was a time when he was so violent. He broke my flesh with his key. It was horrible. He talked down to me. It was a horrible thing. And so I would try and stay away from him, and I would stay at Starbucks for long hours just staring at my computer screen just to be away from him, looking for a job or doing whatever I had to do. And I met this woman named Drexel, and she was a kinesiologist, PE teacher for a school, for the HISD school district. And she looked like a Halloween costume. Okay. It was like she's also a hard bodybuilder, as in she always does those contests, which means she's not just a PE teacher, but she also participated in those competitions where you get on stage and you do like this with your body and you flex and you show off all the muscles and stuff. And I was like, she would come in Starbucks looking like a beggar, like a homeless person. Like her weave would be like, stuck to her head. She'd be wearing oversized clothes. Her skin, she had potholes all over her, face. I mean, it was like, damn shit. Then I met this other guy when I was trying to get sponsorships for an event. He had a gym and his skin had little holes on it. Like I don't know if it was from the needles, whatever, but he was swollen. He was a white guy and he had like textured, abruption. Like he had some texture problems. And obviously, they are the ones that you go to doctors. I've never met a doctor that had pretty skin. I met a doctor that had genetics that were decent, but I've never met a doctor with perfect skin. They're out there, but I've just never met one. And they're in the industry in which all these things are known. The reason I say this is because flesh is not a guaranteed product. Okay? You know how people say money back guaranteed? Like they're the guarantee. Flesh is an unguaranteed product. Let me tell you how flesh works. Flesh is not a guarantee, nor is the blood. Our blood and flesh is not a guarantee, but what is a guarantee is that we are trying our best to protect it, which means you could tell when people don't care about your appearance and your feelings. And that's the sin. The sin is not those things happening to you. Like, if everyone on earth tried to protect your feelings, what would happen is if you ever went through pain, they would ask you, do you want me to mercy kill you? That's how you know people care. If you tell someone, when you go to the doctor, the first thing they're supposed to tell you, I was watching this film called The Egyptian, and there was this lady on it named Nefer, and you'd have to watch the movie to know. And the physician on the film, when she came to him with a disease that damaged her physical body, he said, open your robe. And when she opened the robe, he looked like this. He turned his head like, oh. And she said, what can you do? And he said, do you want to live? And then she said, I want to live. And he said, well, start your treatments. I can never restore your beauty, but I can, keep you from dying. I can keep you alive. And she said, I have no money to pay. And because they had this little thing. And so he said, it's free. It's on the house. He said, come back tomorrow. We'll start your treatments. But the first thing a doctor's supposed to ask anyone over any kind of damage, especially to our appearance, they're supposed to say, do you want to live like this? And then we're supposed to say yes or no. They say, do you want to move or do you want to stay in? But then they're supposed to ask, they're not supposed to keep us alive in any condition. We are supposed to be euthanized, mercy killed. We're supposed to be allowed an opportunity to make that choice under a doctor's, orders. No one should be on earth with any scars, blemishes, handicaps without having been asked, do you want to end your life professionally and medically, scientifically? And they should be explained the reincarnative cycles of our existence and many things. They should do their last prayers with their, whatever it is that we do to exit, they should perform that, confess their sins, and be accountable, say how much money they owe, say that they, confess everything, at that point, and then their life should be taken. But we should not have people, living on earth in situations that are not good for us. I shouldn't be paying money just to be decomposed and age. Like my skin is so ugly. I just can't, I just have to look at it. I mean, it's just, I just, every time I look at it, I just can't believe I'm doing this. Like it's so ugly and it looks just like her. It looks like a dingy West African dry Halloween costume. I don't know. It's just so difficult. Well, I guess the reason why it affects me is because I'm not a pretty girl or nothing, but 14 years ago I had buttery moist skin and it was absolutely gorgeous. My skin and hair was beautiful. My hair was all the way down here, thick and moist. It was black and it was beautiful. It's almost unreal to believe I ever had it. And now I had to cut off all my hair recently to under my ear. And even though it's slightly thick, it's unhealthy, it's dry, it's dehydrated. I have to wear a wig all the time. I wear heavy makeup and I'm still ugly. That's the thing. When you get a close up on me, it's like looking at the ugliest woman you've ever seen. I have scars all over my décolleté and body. It's just, and what I'm trying to say is people say, well, that's your fault. No, because I was done wrong by a lot of people for this to happen. A lot of people did this to me. You have no, I mean, and I'm paying for it. I have to clean and cook and still take care of myself. I have to get dressed. And I'm in flesh that nobody would ever choose. And people are living off of it cannibalistically. So here's what I would say. You can't make a person pay on this planet to live because you can't guarantee the flesh in their blood will be the way they want it to be. We're not paying for possessions or products. We're paying for preservable appearance and protected feelings. And if you can't give a person those things, everything else they purchased was in vain because their alternative is to commit suicide or beg for euthanasia. If y'all don't have a euthanasia center for people to actually take their life professionally, medically, and spiritually and scientifically, y'all are forcing people to be robbed because you can't guarantee a product and you can't just write off decomposition and say it's aging. That's like saying theft is just sorrow. I could say, oh, you were robbed. That's just sorrow. Just go cry about it and get over it. You can't do that. Y'all said it's a crime. Well, aging is a crime to me. And it's not even my fault, especially what I've been through. For every dollar I've spent, since I cannot bear looking at my skin, I'm going to charge $1 million on each dollar I've spent on my life ever since I cannot look at my skin to every human being on this planet, whether you're rich, poor, great, small, whether you're black, white, short, or tall. And if I am not paid in full very soon, $1 million on each dollar I've spent ever since I cannot look at my skin, each person is going to burn in hell for all of eternity for making me pay a price to live in decomposition, pain, and suffering.